Hey guys, what's going on? So there's been a lot of silence from Dualpoint recently as we haven't seen any developer leaks in a while. I also noticed over this past year a majority of you guys have started to move away from APOC 2 because it got stale with the lack of updates. So I decided to reach out to Gusmanek and Dualpoint and asked a bunch of questions regarding the future of the game, the new map, base building, and more. And we also got some really cool pictures to look at, which I think is going to make you guys really excited for what's to come. And this is going to be a long video, so let's get right into it. Most of these questions are answered by Gus himself. I'm not sure how many are actually from the actual Dualpoint team. So I asked, what's with the lack of updates? We spent the last few months catching up on old tech debt, old systems slowing down development, and tackling long-time issues we felt needed to be addressed, like data saving, server crashes, etc. Obviously, we've been putting a lot of effort into event updates as well. However, the long-time players of Apocalypse Rising 2 should be aware of our development pace by this point. If players want well-designed, expansive features, which is scope, of high quality, that is sustainable for our development budget, then it's going to take time. This is a picture that he gave me. There are 3 factors that go into making a quality game: scope, cost, and time. But with it taking time, I asked, have you had any plans of hiring more programmers to scale production? He said it is an option that has been discussed internally and it might have a positive impact on development pace for some aspects of the game. This is something that we'll be looking into over the next year, but it won't be a quick process. So I asked this programmer question because everyone's getting very antsy with this game, even me. Hopefully I have the funds to do this because I would really like to see a little bit of faster pace when it comes to updates. You think with better planning this game could have been completed in a faster fashion? He said hindsight is 20 out of 20, sure. There will always be things that we could have done better, but we don't think it's entirely fair to put the blame on us as criticism of our development time management, especially on a platform like Roblox. Unlike most games and game engines, Roblox has only one version that you're forced to play and develop on. This instability is a trade-off that adds a lot of complexity to developing on Roblox, especially for larger games that by their nature are complicated to begin with. Being blindsided with bugs or unannounced platform changes isn't uncommon. APOC 2 is a large game that's beginning to show its age in some areas. There are absolutely design decisions that we have made that have changed the speed and course of development, but on a game as big as APOC 2, the influence of the platform on the pace of development isn't something that should be overlooked. After the Spring Accelerator program, players felt like nothing major came out of it besides the lighting and power plant controls. Did you actually benefit from it regarding the progress you made from the development standpoint? It is true that most of the work done during the Accelerator wasn't on the player-facing end. On the programming side, a lot of it involved the back-end stuff. Most importantly though, the Accelerator allowed us to take the plunge and start making the new map from scratch. If it wasn't for the budget provided by the program, it wouldn't have been possible. It is easy to underestimate the amount of man-hours that it takes to fully model a fleshed-out map of this scale. Although progress on the new map has been overtaken by the Halloween and holiday events, we expect a lot of the Accelerator work to present itself when the new map is eventually released sometime in 2023. So for those who don't know what the Accelerator program was, they got into this little program that Roblox holds to provide some assistance on developing the game for small teams. And they got into it of spring of 2022, I believe. It was last spring. So all we saw is the lighting and then the power plant controls. So I thought it was kind of like, just kind of a joke from, a player standpoint and a content creator standpoint. Apparently they actually made some progress that we have not seen. And that is something that is good to hear. Are you ever going to bring back the nice looking water? There are plans to improve the water, but it's not an immediate priority. The old Roblox terrain water cannot be easily brought back due to performance reasons at this time. We have also considered some of the other technical options for the water that could allow for more interesting boat physics, as well as more interior space below the waterline. The Roblox game Winds of Fortune has custom water that allows for this. So this is the Winds of Fire game that he was talking about. This is like the water in this game. This is like all custom water, so you obviously can see under the shoreline as the boat dips under the water here. And there's also further room under the sand as the sand drops down too. So I'm not sure if they're planning to do something with things under the water, like loot under the water, or if you can dive or something. As they said in the question there, they plan to accommodate some extra land under, so I don't know what plans they have currently. Here's a further picture. You can see obviously can't really see too much under the water, obviously because it's water. By the way, this is a completely different game. This is not actually APOC, the build that they're working on. So I thought the water when I first started playing APOC was really nice, and all of a sudden they removed it and it's just this flat water. I was very confused on why they removed it. I guess there was issues with performance, so hopefully it comes back when the new map comes out and they figure out some custom water. On a Reddit post, you mentioned that most of the features of APOC 1 are going to come back to APOC 2. An example being dynamic weather. Is this still happening? Absolutely, dynamic weather is a feature that we are very much looking forward to. The weather system will be deeper than the one featured in the first game, but it may not be prioritized for some time. You know, recently for the holiday event, when you went to Santa's workshop, we actually saw the snow that they added. So I thought they actually made some progress on it, but I'm pretty sure it was just something for the holiday event where it snowed. Has there been any progress made on the new foliage system that you are working on for the new map? Yes, we have a solid collection of assets that are casually being worked on. They still need to undergo some intensive benchmarking to ensure they're performant, but the plan is to present these assets along with the new maps released sometime in 2023. The pine trees in the holiday event at Santa's workshop and in the Christmas treehouse events are an example of what we're experimenting with in regard to the new foliage. Here's a picture they sent me over. This is the new foliage they're working on. Very high res plants and grass and bushes and shrubs. I mean, compared to the ones we have now where it's kind of like low poly, this has got to be top notch, like Roblox quality assets we're talking about here. They look really, really good. This is also a picture of the pine trees that we saw at the holiday event. This is just a standalone single tree in their like dev testing area. As you can see in this picture, just alone with these trees, it makes the whole game look completely different. This is Radio Tower, by the way, if you guys didn't recognize this. These are obviously placeholders, and I'm pretty sure they're obviously going to use this in some places, but I would assume that they're going to have some type of variety, not just all pine trees, because that would be just too repetitive. Here's another big picture of a giant city here. If you also can recognize, this is the picture from the Accelerator trailer where they showed the highway. And here's the underpass here as well. I'll try to put as much comparison pictures up on screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. It feels like it's honestly becoming more of a Steam game than a Roblox game. Here's another picture, by the way. If you guys can recognize this, down here is the area that they took a picture in the Reddit post a long time ago. You can recognize this because of these banners going across of the buildings here. I'm pretty sure this was Eden, as they said in the post. Because, I mean, this looks like an entire different game. These high-res trees make it feel like not as much as like a Bloxy type game. And in this picture, I think we were right over here before. I don't know if this is going to be Salem or not, but this looks like a giant shipping port area. Because of over here, we have a giant like boating dock port area. This is a picture we got the other day in the DevLeaks channel. This is apparently Fairview, an overhead view. We actually have gotten quite a few leaks around this area because if we look up here, this is the modern house we saw back in one of the developer leaks a long time ago. I'll put up a thing on screen right now. They also put out a dev leak of a Mustang that came out of this building right here, and he drove around this area going through here and stuff. But it looks like they also have new palm tree assets. These look really good as well. These are the old ones right here. These look like the new ones. On the other hand, they made new house models, so more of the houses in this game are just more modern. All these houses have that flat design and modern vibe. So this next section of questions is going to be about upcoming updates. I'm aware you are planning to have sandbox and persistent VIP servers. What can you tell players about this? So there's going to be 4 game modes according to Gus. Public Open World, which is the current main game. The Public Open World is the flagship APOC 2 experience we want to maintain. This is the primary Open World PvP mode. So this is just like the normal game mode. There's going to be Persistent Open World, which is like New Game Plus. You can play solo or with anyone who joins your server. Progress will synchronize between persistent VIP servers of the same type, which means you can unlock cosmetics on your friend's private VIP server and will be unlocked on yours too. Additionally, anything you build on your private VIP server will save and persist permanently. Players who want to spend weeks building cool bases should be able to do that within their servers. There's going to be private custom world VIP servers, which would be like sandbox mode. It's going to have a permission system with various commands like an expanded APOC 1 VIP server. It's likely will implement camera features, content creation tools, and numerous global settings for players to take advantage of. This mode will not transfer or load data from other versions of VIP servers or the public game. And there will also be skirmishes, which is tourney mode, competitive skirmishes, whatever the team versus team equal grounds dueling mode is. We want to add more game mode types, better loadout selection, a map shuffle system, more maps, and so on and so forth. You know, for someone who plays the tourney mode a lot with people off camera, I would love to see a load of new maps and features that would just make it so much more sustainable for players to play. You added projectile timing and bullet drop to weapons. A lot of players have negative feelings about it. Why is this something you wanted to add? As a developer, you learn to sort feedback into groups of I don't like it, it's different, and it's not fun. We've been listening to people telling us what they aren't enjoying and what we've been iterating quite often based on their feedback. Because it is, again, quite different from when it was first tested, the more feedback we can get, the better. Now that the projectile update has been released along with the holiday event, we're looking forward to how our wider audience of players will learn the new system. The projectile system was not a major priority, which is why it wasn't released in the Halloween event. We didn't drop other work to make the projectile system. It was developed during a large back-end maintenance patch and only exists because of a hack week discovery. It turned out that adding travel time was fairly trivial and would be requiring balancing, something we've been toying around with anyway. We're pretty happy with the results so far, and we think the projectile system, while different at first, will be a strong combat balancing tool moving forwards. The changelog for the holiday event explains the projectile system in detail, and we suggest everyone to look over it in depth. You know, I kind of like it, but I just feel like it's way too much bullet drop and stuff. You know, I have some mixed opinions about it. I feel like honestly, they have just too much bullet drop, and it honestly feels way harder than Rust. If you guys ever played Rust, they have the same type of projectile system thing. I hope they do some balancing changes to this going forward. Everyone wants to know where the new map is and why it's taking so long. From an outsider perspective, it is easy to underestimate the amount of man-hours it takes to fully model a fully fleshed map out of this scale. The core map team consists of 3 part-time designers, and we are taking our time to make sure that the map is the accumulation of everything we have learned over the years of developing APOC and APOC 2. Designing, building, furnishing, and looting a map like this one is a very long process, even more so when the people working on it are also involved on other tasks within the team. When designing a new event update, we essentially have to temporarily stop work on the new map altogether. The new map is nearing completion, but there is a lot of work to do. For example, we still have intensive benchmarking to ensure that it's performance enough for the average player. We want to release the new map as soon as possible, but we aren't willing to cut corners or put out a bad experience. We have always been bad about estimating the amount of time it takes for us to deliver on something like this, and players should not be surprised considering how long we've been working on this game. We want to ship the new map sometime in 2023, and you should look forward to more leaks and information as we become more confident with our progress. This is something everyone's been waiting for, and they put out a post back in 2021 or 2022, and so it's been a few years. You know, I really do feel like this map is going to bring a lot of people back, but I don't feel like it's going to get as boring as the current map, as it's going to be a lot more packed with things. With our current map, it's kind of like you only can play for so long where it gets boring, but I had that feeling that this one will get as stale as this current one as fast. Plans to add more guns to the game? The special gun update just felt like it was a filler update, as the guns just had stat changes and modified models from the regular in-game guns. Majority of people agreed that adding new guns would have been better than the special guns. I think we can agree that all the new guns are better than the special guns. The issue is that the process of making a new gun is not as simple as you might assume. Creating a new gun from scratch involves contracting a weapon artist who can UV map because gun skins, a character/gun animator, our sound engineer, and all of it has to be overseen and balanced by Gus. This is a costly endeavor and can take resources away from other areas of development. It should also be obvious that our gun system is already lacking animation, sound effects, and visual effects. Although the projectile weapon system has implemented some of what we would like to see in the long run, I think even now players would agree that we have not realized the full potential of flash/smoke effects, attachments, sounds, and animation. Special guns are much simpler because they utilize existing models, sounds, and animations with just a bit of modeling assistance. Ghost has been able to implement all these special guns by himself. That being said, we don't think it's fair to dismiss the special gun additions as pointless. Given the current state of the game and the lack of base building or a mission achievement system, the addition of special guns added a variety of content to a number of map locations and provided something new to use in VIP server tournaments. We will always take the opportunities to add content that is worth more than the effort it takes to implement, and considering the lack of update sentiment from players, it's unfortunate that anyone would feel the addition of special guns was pointless. You know, I can see what they're saying, but, you know, why not take the time to just add new weapons instead of just doing something really fast with the special guns? You know, I feel like most of us would have appreciated some type of new weapons. You know, we got the Patriot. We got like 7 new special AK models. It's like, what? You know, it's interesting to see all these like stat changed guns, but I think a lot of people would have been happy if there were just like 5 new guns and not like 27 new special weapons. When the new map releases, do you have plans to increase the max player count? In the current map with lots of water, it has an empty feeling to it. While there is considerably less water within the central area, however, the new map will be more dense in content. The current map feels empty because it was designed in a way that hinders adequate player flow. Desolate areas like Volcano, most of the big island, even Maginov, feel extremely empty because they are far away from the center, undesirable, and surrounded with water. We've taken extreme care to design the new map in a way that avoids these issues and encourages that every corner of the map feels interesting and serves a purpose. We don't plan to change the player count, but we could reevaluate after the new map is out. I can say a lot about this because there is like nobody. I don't know where everybody goes, but since the game has gone free, it's just you rarely find anybody. When I record, I circle for hours and hours trying to find people, and it's just like impossible. Before this game was free, everyone was either at like Ash or Ness, but that is just not a thing anymore, and everyone's just spread out everywhere. I don't know if I'm in the wrong here saying that it's empty. Even with less water in this new map, it's how often are we gonna see people? I just feel like it's gonna be like more desolate from the current one. Even with a full server in the current one, it just has this empty feeling. With all the things you talked about in your Reddit post, are you able to expand or give us updates on things you are making progress on or had changes to? Example, recipes, blueprints, safe zones, geothermal power plant, and gathering materials. We haven't begun work on the base building system or missions yet, as our priorities have been shifted and reworked to focus on tech debt and updating older aspects of the game. Much of the information in that thread in regard to missions and base building is still pretty much accurate to what we have in mind. The only change we're considering is expanding the base building system beyond fortifying existing structures, so that the player has more options when it comes to building a new base from scratch in the wilderness. The original thread suggested that players would be more restricted to building off of existing structures, but now our plan is to give the player more freedom to build anywhere. On another note entirely, we have some new features and user interface planned that should make it into the game sooner than later. Besides some updates to the HUD, here you can see a work in progress demo of the journal. This menu will be used to keep track of unlocked content and provide additional information on various items in the game. For example, when a player picks up a gun for the first time, it will be discovered in this menu. This menu could also be used for vehicles, utilities, food, and any other item in the game, but in the future we're also planning for the journal to keep track of player achievement progress as well as missions. And here's a look at the journal here. Not sure exactly what you're going to use this for, besides looking at, you can actually see the gun stats now in a more formatted display over here. It looks like you pretty much have all the guns. You got machine pistols, Mac-10 Uzi, whatever this one is. All your handguns, and this goes on and on. But it also shows what ammo is compatible with it, and it looks like you can see the attachment slots on it. Not sure if that's a button that goes to a different screen, but that's what it looks like to be. And by the way, this is a work in progress screenshot, so I'm assuming this is subject to change. This is also a new picture they sent me. This is the new HUD that they're working on. It's not really new, but it's just more like simplified. As you can see, the health, energy, pretty sure this is all new fonts. This is actually planned to come soon to the game, is this updated HUD. This is just a more simplified version of what we have now. As you can see, I'm not sure if there's new icons for the guns too. Kind of looks like it. And they also got this ×2 thing here. I don't know if you have 2 of those or what the whole deal with that is. The compass has been reworked. Not really reworked, but kind of simplified. They removed the background of it, so now it's just opaque to the world. I like this a lot, and this is apparently coming soon, so look out for this. Alright, so this section is going to be on base building. This is something I know a lot of you guys want to know about. With base building coming in the near future, do you plan to implement a server browser like APOC 1 had so players can keep their base progress? Server IDs in some sort of server browser and lobby are all planned features, however we don't expect the base building system to be like that of Rust or DayZ. Bases will stick around for as long as the server stays online, and as the server will be unlikely to last beyond a day or two. And that's cool. I mean, the bases will not last very long in this game. Well, it's also pretty sure it's because the pace of the game is pretty fast. For someone who's been playing as long as I have, I can get geared in like 10 minutes or less, not even. Are there plans for customizing homes? Players will be able to customize structure with the base building system and potentially personalize a home. But as mentioned above, the base will be lost when the server eventually shuts down. That being said, this is where we feel that persistent open world VIP servers will come into play. It should be possible for us to permanently persist your builds and modifications and vehicles in your PVIP server so you can build a dream house at your leisure without worry. So as I said before, there's gonna be different like server modes. So the PVIP servers, the persistent VIP servers, where you have like your own server and you can just play the game on your own or with friends. That's gonna have the option to persist your mega mansions. How far are we from base building? Can you give us any updates on it? We believe we have a solid design in mind, but programming work has not been started. In your roadmap Reddit post, you said that the current plan is for all existing furniture and containers to be indestructible and unusable as storage for player loot. To address our vision, it will not be as basic as just fortifying an existing structure. Even if that was emphasized in the original thread, I think players will be pleased with the overall system we have in mind. But just like every other huge feature in APOC 2, the first version of a new system is not going to be its final version and iteration. When the initial release of base building is eventually implemented into the game, it will not be a feature complete, and we will likely make temporary compromises to make up for the aspects of the system that we have yet to implement. The same can be said for melee weapons, firearms, vehicles, and infected mechanics. None of these systems are complete in our view. Base building will not meet all of your expectations at first, and the complexity you're looking for will probably not be present for quite some time. I wanted them to expand on this because, we've been waiting so long for this base building feature, and, I just don't want it to be something like where you just slap a barricade down in a house and you call it a day. I want there to be some variety of what you can do in the house, because with the current prefabricated houses that we have in the map, I don't want it to be just walk in a house, slap the stupid things down, and place your loot in the house, because then I just feel like it's not even worth to build a base at that point. You can store up loot in the base, but it's so fast to get geared in the game, it's not even worth the time. So we'll see how they expand on this in the future, because I hope they have an idea of what I'm talking about here. These next questions are going to be based on the game direction. It seems development has been shifted to focus more on PvP interactions rather than interactions against infected, hunger, thirst, and a more survival-like world. It feels unbalanced and more geared towards a PvP-only experience instead of a PvE. Apocalypse Rising 2 is an unfinished game as mentioned above. There are numerous core systems that are incomplete or simplified until we continue work on them. I know it's frustrating that the game seems discombobulated, but until we implement more VIP server modes, base building, and mission systems especially, we are simply trying to make the game fun for what we have. Another way to look at it is we're polishing the PvP experience so that we can move on to implementing the PvE systems and content that we have planned. It is our goal for a variety of players to enjoy the game, but everything takes time. With many important features being missing from the game, we agree that the current gameplay loop can be stale after a bit of playing. The idea is that the cycle will fundamentally change once base building and missions are implemented as mentioned above. I think a lot of people can agree with this one. The game really feels, it doesn't even feel like a survival game, to be honest with you. It feels like Phantom Forces, but you have to loot the guns and get the guns. As a survival game enthusiast, I'd rather have PvE first than PvP. I don't know, it's just, I feel like that's the whole point of a survival game is PvE rather than PvP. As of now, there aren't many items in the game. The game has very minimal assets. Do you plan to add more? For example, campfires, hacksaw to cut trees, fire starters, batteries for flashlights, smoke grenades, basketball to play with in the university gym? We would love to add some of these, but labeling them as items is misleading. Smoke grenades require a throwable system to be programmed and tested. Same with the basketball. A hacksaw to cut trees is not an item. It's an entire deforestation feature to be designed and programmed, probably tied into base building and etc. I don't see us spending valuable development time on flashlight batteries and deforestation anytime soon. Grenades and throwables are definitely a planned feature though. Now that we have the projectile gun system, items like this and even bow weapons are much more viable, whereas before projectiles, they were not a realistic consideration. We're excited to see grenades and throwables in the game. Especially smoke grenades, because you can just smoke a whole house, and you can just... There's not really many things that keep people engaged, besides the gunplay. So this section is some personal questions that I asked, and my personal opinions. So I asked, I think the whole utility concept is useless, as nobody ever uses such things as flares, chem lights, rangefinder, and flashlights. Do you plan to expand on this? I would like to see some items besides guns, foods, and meds actually having some sort of use in the game, as the game is supposed to be survival based. Are there any plans? Yes, we are aware that the utility system right now kinda sucks. It is somewhat clunky and the items are not very good. This is one of many partially implemented systems and features that we plan to expand on, including adding utilities that provide passive benefits. For example, imagine an item that allows you to load bullets into a magazine faster, or utilities that enable new abilities like siphoning gasoline, salvaging building materials, or foraging for food. Ultimately, we want APOC 2 to have some survival aspects, but we don't like saying the game is survival-based, because that makes people think of games like DayZ and the insane amount of time it takes to make any progress whatsoever. As we continue development on the game, we expect that the base building system and any new utilities or any new survival mechanics will complement and expand on the current gameplay loop. So it looks like they plan to add some items to siphon gas and stuff, and Siphoning gas is something that I actually wanted for a while. So I don't know what type of item you're going to actually have to use for that. Some type of hose, I assume. Salvaging building material, I'm assuming that's just like an axe or something. But an item that loads bullets into a magazine faster, I don't know what... We already load pretty fast into the game. I don't know how fast you need to... How much are you shooting? I would love to see some puzzles and bunkers implemented into the new map with clues hidden around the world. For example, having a few locked doors around the map and you need a key and certain item to open it, and inside there would be loot, etc. It's too early to make promises, but we have explored the possibility of introducing a locked doors and key system similar to Escape from Tarkov or classic RPGs. That being said, story missions should also help scratch the itch of puzzles and clues, sending you across the map to find a specific hidden item. We've also dungeons or curated PvE levels that players could teleport into and run with their friends. There's a lot of potential here, but we really need to do a lot more core development before we can get to this point. We really need like small things around the map to keep us like engaged and actually play the game for longer, because you know, right now it's not cutting it. So you know, I wanted to have some like small little features or like cool little things that will keep us occupied. Airdrops? It is a possibility though. The existing helicopter crash events will be more fleshed out, having a crash animation or at least a sound effect probably happen before we consider an active aircraft. I thought airdrops would be a cool idea, but you know, I think the airdrops are kind of already the helicopter crashes. I'd love to see like some type of like actual crash happening instead of it just appearing and popping up. Like we actually see it fly through the sky and come and fly down and crash and blow up or something stupid like that. I think that would be, you know, better than airdrops. Fleshing this system out would be if not better than an airdrop itself. So this is the last topic. This is the future roadmap of the game. I asked, what is the end goal for this game, meaning development has ended and marking it as complete. In your eyes, what is the game going to look like and be? The game will look like Apocalypse Rising 2. I can't really give you a concrete answer. It's pretty safe to say that the game will transition from an open alpha to a beta sometime after base building and missions are implemented, besides much needed expansions and basic additions for VIP servers, firearm effects, melee weapons, utilities, vehicles, infected, the map and multiple maps, curated dungeons, the power system, ambient effects, weather systems, foraging and crafting, animal interaction, and probably some other cool stuff. During the beta, we'll continue to polish and refine the overall gameplay experience and gameplay loop. This is when the game will start to feel complete because we'll be focusing on making a cohesive experience with all the systems running at full capacity. When APOC 2 eventually leaves its beta state, you can call it complete. But we're still going to continue expanding on content like story missions, maps, custom game modes, community/in-game events, and anything. APOC 2 has always been a passion project, but it also pays the bills. We don't think in terms of where the finish line is, we're just trying to improve the game that we love. I don't see that changing in the foreseeable future. You know, if this is what they're gonna add, and if they can promise some of this stuff, I think it really is going to be a completely different game than what it is now. And I think once these fleshed out systems come back in, I think most of the player base will come back, and I know a lot of you guys, again, have left the game. Do you think this game is going to last much longer with the decline of players? People are already considering this game dead. We've been hearing dead games since before the game launched, but years later we're still making a living off of it and steadily continuing development. Games in general have fall-off periods where their active users gets bored and move on to other games. It's a natural thing that happens, and it's why studios make multiple games or try to push DLC and updates to older ones. This is especially relevant for companies that must continue growing and earning profit in order to survive. Roblox games are harsh when it comes to this fall-off rate, as it's not uncommon for games to get popular once then completely bottom out afterward. More often than not, this happens to games that were not built to last due to a poor back-end framework and codebase, or because the game is too restricted in how it was designed. Development has always been on the slower side for sure, but our strategy of continually iterating on the game as we expand it has resulted in a solid foundation that many games struggle to establish. Where we will be in X years is always a question we're trying to find answers for, but we've got a promising list of game features and systems to release that we're very confident will sustain interest in the game for years to come. While base building and missions are still some time away, I'm not just talking about those additions. A proper server browser, custom open world VIP servers, and persistent open world VIP servers are going to be one of our highest priorities starting in the new year. For the first time since closed alpha release in 2017, PvE players and content creators will have options besides the main PvP experience.
Remember that Roblox does not allow paid access games to have VIP servers, so we couldn't implement them until after the game was free to play. We can't express enough how valuable having more VIP server options will be, and it is a testament to Apex 2's staying power that we have gone this long without them. We believe Apex 2 has unlimited potential, and we feel that our recent efforts with new features and in-game events are clear examples of what the dev team is capable of. Especially the given lack of base building or missions, we don't think Apex 2 is heading to the grave anytime soon. And the fact that we've stood the test of time for so long with an incomplete project of this size on the platform that chews and spits out games is a good thing. We're far from being out of options, and we're confident in our ability to build something sustainable that will appeal to everyone.
Well guys, there you have it. This is where they see the game going. I'm going to leave a link to everything in the description of this video. There's going to be like a lot of things. The Reddit post, I'll put the original answers to the Q&A with the pictures on it too. Also, maybe some of my opinions. So now, I mean, I think you guys can understand why they're taking forever to work on the game. Everything looks really good. Everything is very high quality, and I think that's what they're aiming for. Obviously, it's going to take time. Hopefully, this Q&A answered a lot of your questions, and it made you guys excited for the upcoming updates of this game. Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and as always, have an amazing day.